everyone, I'm your host, Uduak Oduok, Editor-in-Chief of Ladybrille Magazine. I'm delighted to interview our Ladybrille Woman of the Month for January 2012, Miss Gelila Bekele, an Ethiopian model and social activist. Hi Gelila, how are you?
Hello, Uduak. I'm good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you so much. I'm so excited to have you. Before we get into the interview, what I really wanted to do was just sort of give our listeners, our audience, a little bit about your background. So everyone, let me read Gelila's background and then we'll get into the interview. So, Gelila Bekele was born in the Ethiopian capital of Addis Ababa. As a young child, the future top model moved with her family to Europe. Then one day, after having relocated to the United States, Gelila's life changed when an advertising art director discovered her on the way to school. Ultimately, she signed with Ford Models and her career on the runways of New York and Europe took off. In a few short years, Gelila has posed for the world's top designers and been featured in major advertising campaigns. The almond skin beauty is perhaps best known for her full curly hair that has graced beauty campaigns for Pantene Pro-V and L'Oreal, as well as fashion magazines. Gelila says, modeling is a wonderful gate through which to see the world, and it has provided me with so many opportunities. In the next post-modeling stage of her life, the Ethiopian dynamo is dedicated to pursuing academic concentrations in creative writing and nutrition. Gelila is also a humanitarian and social activist, taking advantage of her status as a celebrated model. She devotes much of her time to helping people in developing countries attain fundamental natural resources. Gelila says, I have a duty to people on the other side of the world who often have no access to clean water. Gelila is most passionate about her work with the organization Charity Water, founded by photographer and entrepreneur Scott Harrison. At this time in my life, I'm a real sponge. I'm learning simplicity and how to wear my body. I'm enjoying life and trying to be the best me. This is all just the beginning of something big. Fantastic bio, by the way, Gelila. Welcome again.
Thank you for having me and even keeping me in mind in this interview. Thank you.
Yes, why don't we start first with what every young woman wants to know. You and I met in the capacity of fashion a long time ago, modeling with Gen Art back in the days in San Francisco, and you know as much as I do that every young girl wants to be a model. So tell us how you expand a little bit more into how your life changed with the whole modeling experience.
When I met you, you're one of my people that I have met since the beginning, the very first beginning. I came to America right after high school for college in Berkeley in the Bay Area, and I met you backstage, like you said, Gen Arts, and I knew nothing about modeling, and to go from an ad agency personal coming to you on the street and saying, hey, you should be a model, and that was just kind of like something out of the blue for me, and just but like anything else, you learn to adopt, and it's been a big life-changing experience for me. It's a time that God had a different plan for me than what I intended. Was to come to America, finish my university studies, and become a nutritionist, and possibly go back home and open a practice. That was my plan, and I guess there was a bigger plan for me that was intended by the universe and God. So it's been amazing, to go from just knowing nothing about the industry to just writing a list of it and using that as a platform to fund my passion and do something else. And it's been amazing, and I feel blessed.
That's really fantastic for a lot of the young women that will listen to this and see how beautiful you are and want to walk the runways like you. How do they specifically get into it? An advertising agency scouted you, but like if an advertising agency is not scouting, if they don't have the luck of being spotted and saying you're going to be a model, what are the steps that they could possibly take to get into the modeling industry?
I think it's kind of fun for me to give advice to aspiring models, because I knew nothing about the industry coming into it. are so many ways as to becoming a model, especially right now with all the top model shows on TV and the scouting going on. And you can go online and search for agencies near you, or even, if your dream is to be in New York or in Paris or in London, there's always a way. Just make sure it is something that is, if you are underage, make sure your parents help you, or somebody who's older than 18, and make sure they're not asking you for money. That's, it's a lot of scams, so I hope they stay clear of that, and just call agencies and say, hey, when is your open call, and what can I send them snapshots of myself? It doesn't even have to be professional. It can just be something your parents, your family, your friends take a picture of you, just naturally send it in, and wait for responses. And if one agency says no, keep going. There's so many agencies in this world, and I think just to go for it. And anything you want in life is never easy, so it's nothing that just happens overnight. Sometimes you just have to keep working at it and keep going for it, and go for it.
What are some of the clients that you've worked for? I know you do a lot more beauty campaigns than anything else. I know I mentioned Pantene, Provi, and L'Oreal. What other companies have you had the privilege of working with?
When I first started, it was kind of like a protocol. You did all the shows, you went around, Fashion Week, you're there, and you get to, that's just amazing to meet all these designers who have so much passion for clothes and garments and the art of fashion. And, in the midst of that, I started working, with Levi's, with Rag & Bone, and, within Westwood, and all of these amazing brands, and going into beauty, like you said, Pantene, that was my 4-year big contract I had, and L'Oreal, Ferrier and Vive, and then also Marabella, and Alberto Corval, and all these big clients. So it's been a great ride, and still going,
That's awesome. How exciting for you. Let's get into a little bit about your charity. That's something that is very fascinating to me, like how passionate you are. Tell us a bit about your charity and how you came to the realization that you had a calling to give back in that way.
It's something that I've been passionate about. I think we can all say as Africans, you don't even have to be an African to really understand what goes on in the world besides what we see in the West. And referring back, we see my family just growing up in Ethiopia, being born there, and we are blessed to have so many things, and also kind of lack a lot of things because of war, or just being behind in so many things. And I just kind of grew up around it, seeing my mom sending money back home to support family, or my aunt, whenever they go back to Ethiopia, they take a lot of clothes or school supplies, and just kind of, you grow up around that. And for me, it's really not even a calling. I think it's part of who we are as human beings, to kind of share whatever we have with our neighbors, and that's kind of, programmed in us, in which we should be. And what I do is nothing grand. It doesn't change much around the world, but it is something very small that I really love to see grow to something bigger, and I want to keep doing it, and it makes me happy to go back home and even see the little change that it makes with building one water well for one village.
Okay, so
it's more about the small steps than anything big,
Okay, so then that's a good transition to find out about Charity Water and what specifically you're doing with Scott Harrison.
Charity Water is this amazing big ball of, merch that happened within 5 years, and I met Scott Harrison literally the first year I moved to New York to a friend, and I fell in love with the organization. I I love the fact that it has no government ties to it. There's no UN Red Cross. It's just this privately funded organization that 100% of donations and funds and volunteer work goes directly to building water wells. You're not paying anybody's salary. You're not paying rent for, for the office, and it's just been amazing to get involved with it. And the fact that it's in 18 different countries and growing, and my involvement has been with the projects in Ethiopia and privately funding it. I'm not a millionaire, but if I can give 2%, 5% of whatever I make modeling, that can build a few wells back home, and it takes maybe $5,000 to build one well that lasts up to 15 to 20 years, but sustains up to 3,000 people in one village, providing them with clean water for them to have. And that was just life-changing for me to go with him and see the projects, and it's just been a drive for me so far.
Wow.
Love to keep getting involved and hopefully have it growing to something bigger than what it is.
Wow, how amazing, Gelila. And the part that you say, you don't have to be a millionaire, but the little you have, you can put aside a certain percentage to help. And that's really, really inspiring.
Absolutely. I think it's cool to stand up for something. It doesn't have to be writing a check for charity if you can. It's just nice to stand up for something. I love to see my friends and family and people that I come across to know they stand up for something as human beings and wanting to change something if they don't like it. It's just really awesome. I love to see people be passionate about life and just kind of taking this whole earth as in, community. It's nice to see people think as a community and say, hey, I live in New York, but somebody who's living in North Korea doesn't have access to having, a kindergarten or school, and I want to change that. I love to see that. I love to hear of that, and it's nice. And it's nice to see people getting involved and standing up for something and not just living day to day in their own life. It's just nice.
Yeah. Let me take you to something you pointed out, which is about Ethiopia, and specifically the charity water project in Ethiopia. One of the ways that we've seen, particularly in the West, and you sort of know the Ladybrille's mission to de-stigmatize the stereotypes about us as Africans. And one of the things that we've seen when you watch TV, whether it's Discovery Channel or any major mainstream media talking about Africa, there's that whole war and famine that took place in Ethiopia that people associate with that. What is modern day Ethiopia like? You visit the country now. What does it look like? Paint the picture for us. Is it still a lot of that starvation? Is it still a lot of that famine? What's going on? Because it's so hard to break that stereotype in the minds of many Americans.
As an Ethiopian, as an African, I think every day living in the West, you are breaking the stereotype of when you encounter somebody asking you, where are you from? I'm from Ethiopia. Wow! So how is your country? Is it still starvation, famine, war? Or something that happened 30 years ago that it's still like we are the poster children. I hate when people use the phrase when they are having a wonderful dinner with friends and they have leftovers. It's like, there's so many starving children in Africa. It breaks my spine. I hate to hear that.
Why?
And because the reality is, yes, we all, Africa is suffering like any other nation with global warming, with political changes, with, lack of clean water, hospital, and all these things like AIDS, just like South America is suffering, like Asia is suffering, and most part of Europe is suffering. But I would love to hear my continent, my country being mentioned in a better light than it has been. I'm not trying to hide the truth, the fact that, the Horn of Africa is suffering from huge drought right now. other city. It's huge buildings and businesses and, like anything you see in a big city. And on the countryside, it's completely like a countryside, nothing time, farming, and people living like from the 18th century,
Yeah.
But I think I would love people to see reality versus just going by what they heard from media from 30 years ago. The truth is that Africa is a beautiful continent. It's a continent, and people forget that it's a continent, not a country.
Yeah.
Ethiopia, I am proud of it. It's growing. I think we have problems, issues like any other nation. But I think the diaspora that had left many years ago is going back and building schools and hospitals and clinics and businesses and, just it's growing. And still with growth, there's also a backfire of, that addition versus growth in between. But I think it's in a better path than it used to be. And I'm proud of Ethiopia and Africa for its growing, and hopefully it continues. But we do have also need to work on the diseases that are happening, like malaria and parasites killing kids from drinking unsafe water. Lack of education in the countryside. I think women suffer the most, more than men. And hopefully all that can change, but that is a global effort. It's not just Ethiopian or African. It's just be a global effort,
That is true. That is true. Well, let me take you into one other major big area before we do a little quiz on some of your favorite things. Nutrition. You mentioned that you've always wanted to study to become a nutritionist, and I know in the opening I did mention about your interest in creative writing and nutrition. So what's the interest in nutrition to begin with? Why are you attracted to wanting to study basically the chemistry of food and what it does to the body?
I've been vegan since I was 11 years old, and I am that crazy child in your family that just likes to think outside of the box. And I refused to eat meat, not because I found it disgusting, but I just didn't want to consume it. And I remember on my 11th birthday saying, I'm not going to eat the cake because it's made of egg and milk. And
oh, wow.
My aunt was so my family, instead of saying, no, you're going to enforcing me into a different diet than what I desired, they gave me a book, Vegetarianism. I knew nothing about vegan and vegetarian. I just loved, what I ate every day, and it happened to be vegan vegetarian. And it was refreshing to read these books and find out about all these different nutrition, vitamins and minerals you get from, plants, and it just kind of got my mind going, and it was my passion. And I actually, when I came into UC Berkeley, I was going to be a dentist, and I declared pre-med. But my aunt was like, why do you want to be a dentist? And I realized I couldn't look into people's mouths for the rest of their life, and the nutrition was always my passion, so I changed into nutrition. So
I actually remember when I first met you asking you, when we got into discussions about education, asking you what you wanted to do, and you mentioned pursuing being a dentist. Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, and it changed, and I'm happy that was a good change for me.
Wow.
I love it still every day, even if I didn't practice it. It comes in handy for me every day, for my family and friends. I have this a pool of emails I send out to friends of like, hey, today we're going to talk about vitamin D, where we're going to get it from. So I have this a really cute group of friends that we write to each other about things that we learn every day, and it's just something handy for life,
Yeah, and you know what, as a model too, to sustain your longevity in the business, you really, really need to be very, very conscientious about what you eat and put into your body. Absolutely.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is nice to have a healthy healthy lifestyle. I'm not a good believer, or I don't believe in dieting. You know, I think it's great to detox once in a while and do maybe like a juice fast or something like that, but I don't believe in dieting. I think you should, if you don't like what you look like, and change what you eat, because I firmly believe that what you look like is what you eat, and what comes out of it is part of what we put into our body. And food is a big thing. It can heal you, and it also can kill you. You know?
Oh yes, definitely. I can definitely testify to the power of healing with good food and nutrition. I happen to also, although not a vegan, but really conscientious about nutrition. And I remember at one point when I was not feeling good at all, and I had tried different doctors and stuff, and no one could figure it out. And I just went back to basics and cleared out what I was eating and just restructured my diet. And I was just stunned that I felt so much better. And it continues to be what I do. Just really, anytime I'm not feeling too good, I go back to, okay, what are you eating? How are you doing this? You know, what's going on? So, definitely.
Yeah, and a lot of people are not aware of that. And I think also, like, the biggest mistake we make is thinking, okay, oh wow, a friend of mine is in this routine of eating what she's eating, and I should follow that, which is a big mistake, because everyone is so custom made, and what I eat cannot go well maybe with you, with your system and your blood type and everything else. And being vegan is vegan. I don't recommend it for everyone. I'm not that crazy vegan that just thinks everyone should stop eating meat. I think everyone's body is so different that some body types need to have some type of meat in their meal. So
I agree. Well, we're basically going to wrap it up by getting into African fashion, music, restaurants, arts, and all those fun stuff. So tell me, of course you're in fashion, we're both in fashion, we love fashion. And who do you rock when you're, like, you know, making your appearances on the red carpet, traveling, you know, going for your auditions or castings, depending on what the job is? Who's your favorite African fashion designer?
I am one of those models that loves to be comfortable.
Okay.
I rather be comfortable than look great and in this tight dress and high heels. And if I could live in a ripped jeans and blue shirt for the rest of my life, I would. But my grandmother would
I know, right?
Yeah, but also, like, being in the industry now, that I've learned to appreciate fashion a little bit more in a different eye than I used to. So I love anything that is feminine and rock and roll and African. I love prints. There's these prints that are from Somalia.
Oh, the Matanos. The Matanos?
I love them.
Yes.
Yes, I love them, and I love their beautiful, feminine. They understand the cut of a woman's body, and they incorporate African prints, and just beautiful. And I'm a big fan of theirs, and I don't even think they know I love their stuff.
Well, now they're gonna know. They've been featured on Ladybrille, and we actually had CNN contact us and asked us for recommendations of who to feature. And one of the names we said was Matano, that they should check it out, and they did. And they do have beautiful stuff. They really do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I love to see, like, young African women just doing amazing things, and it makes me feel really nice to see a fellow African doing well. So I love their stuff. And Alexander Wang, I love him, and Zadig and Voltaire is one of my everyday essential kind of stuff that I do, a little bit rock and roll, a little chill, a little, black and white t-shirts and jeans, and I'm just an easy girl. I'm not a big fuss into high maintenance fashion. Of course, if I'm going to an event, maybe I like to take a shower, comb my hair, and put on a dress.
Yeah, comb all that curly hair. How do you manage all that? What kind of specific products do you use for your curly hair?
I honestly, sadly, to my agent, probably wouldn't like to hear this, but I don't really own a
Oh.
I don't really. I'm telling you, I'm that really really lazy, chill, sloppy Joe kind of model. I wake up, I shower, maybe my hair gets wet and it dries on the go, and I don't put any product in my hair. I use whatever shampoo I have in the hotel room.
I know your agent is screaming right now. No, Gelila, don't say that.
I know, and I actually love, what do you call it, avocado mask.
Oh, yeah.
I do that once a week because it goes through so much for work. It gets fussed on so much, and curling irons and treatments. I just love to put some avocado treatment on my hair once a week.
And let's get the nutrients that's coming from the avocados for those that might be interested in knowing that.
I'm sorry,
the actual minerals and vitamins that come from the avocado that you have that when you do the mask.
Avocado is like this deep, rich nut that is so good. It has a good fat. The fatty acids that come out of it is great to even consume. I put it in my salad, and even as I'm applying it to my hair, I take a bite, which is kind of disgusting, but I love avocado. It's just a deep conditioner. It just takes your ends. If you have dry ends, it nourishes it. So it's just a pure deep conditioner that you can just get from your local grocery store. Maybe mix it with olive oil, so it has some oil and it's a little bit more thinner than, because it tends to be really thick. And olive oil is good for the scalp, and it's just really good, rich, deep conditioner.
Okay, so an African artist you would recommend our audience listens to?
Oh, wow. I'm a big fan of that mama. She's half Belgian and half Congolese.
Okay.
I love her music. Constant on my playlist.
Okay.
Also Calista, he's a Malian artist. I love him, and Almost Mangari and Filakute, and right now from Nigeria, Nenika.
Neka? Oh yeah, she's awesome.
I might pronounce her name wrong, Neka. I love her.
Neka,
I love
yes.
her album, and it's just so present. What's going on in Nigeria, and love and heartbreak, and what it is to be African, and
yes.
I love those artists.
Yeah. Wow. Awesome. Okay.
Also, I know Gigi from my homeland, Ethiopia.
I know she's really good. I love her work too. Her work is great.
Yeah.
What about African restaurant? What would you recommend? You travel all over, so give us some restaurants, not only in the U.S. but maybe on the continent, or in Europe.
African restaurants. Of course, I'm always searching for
like fine dining.
Sorry.
Like fine dining African restaurant. I know there are very limited ones available.
Fine dining. I don't know. I'm one of those people who love, if it's a great authentic food, even if it's a hole in the wall, I'll still enjoy it.
Great, awesome.
My dilemma, but of course, it's always been finding great vegan food that's African.
Oh yeah, you're right.
It's a dilemma.
Yeah.
But there is great restaurants in New York, of course, because it's a big community of Africans. There's Dakar in Brooklyn, which is a great Senegalese restaurant that I love, and then there is Madiba in Brooklyn also, and then in London, Queen of Sheba, which is another great Ethiopian restaurant, and there's one also in Paris, Mescala.
Okay.
Have you been? Addis in Paris.
Have you been to Marcus? Have you been to Marcus Samuelson's restaurant yet?
No, I haven't.
I haven't
been
either.
literally traveling for the past 7 months, and I've been away from New York, so I haven't.
Okay.
But I just make good reviews on it.
Yeah, I'm curious about it. Maybe this September during Fashion Week, I'll check it out when I'm in New York. Yeah.
And I would love to see you while you're here, lady. It would be nice to see you.
Likewise. It's been, what, almost 6 years?
Yeah, Yeah, long overdue.
Yes. Okay, so let's wrap it up for our listeners. It's been absolutely amazing with you, but one final question, Miss Gelila Bekele, the one and only. What does it mean to be a brilliant woman? You are a Ladybrille Woman of the Month, so you're going to just shut it down, close it out. What does it mean to be a brilliant woman?
I don't, like I said, I don't know if I'm a brilliant woman. I strive to be. But I think what it is to be a brilliant woman is to be diverse, to think about, to think outside the box, and being a hard-working woman, especially an African woman. Nothing's given to us, but we work hard for where we are. That's brilliant. Brilliant is being kind. Brilliant is being feminine, but still not being too shy about speaking your mind and standing up for what you believe in. Brilliant is not just being book smart, but practicing love, and it's just, brilliant is you. You are an amazing woman, I think, and multitasking so many things, and brilliant just means all of that wrapped into one.
Any last words for our listeners, the Ladybrille listeners that are intrigued by you, your beauty, your intelligence, and everything else that you've shared with us today? What would you like to say to them?
I say thank you for all the support throughout my career, and thank you for being positive, and because there's so much negative that goes on in the world, and it's nice to have a support system, whether it's with family, friends, or fans, and I'm nobody that really has done anything in this world. There's so many amazing people in this world, but thank you for standing behind me and even correcting me when you feel like I am doing wrong. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Gelila. It's been awesome. We wish you the best of successes, and we'll be following up with your career. Please keep us on your media list and let us know what you're doing throughout the year.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Okay, take care.